Hey everyone. Yeah, I thought I'd do this video real quickly, and in case you notice, I am wearing a hat because, yes, I did get a haircut today finally. As you can see, I finally got the haircut trimmed down. So, yeah, it's finally down. I thought I'd talk about something real quickly, as fast as I can. And is it me, or is it kind of ironic that the original big three comic companies, that being DC, Marvel, and Archie, the original big three. I mean, if you take out IDW and Image and all of them, isn't it kind of ironic that the original big three are all having special events during the summer? Yeah, isn't it kind of ironic that that's happening? You have one over at DC that I guess is supposed to reboot the entire universe or get rid of the 52 deal or just relaunch everything. You got one going on over at Marvel, which is Secret Wars, which is supposed to really change things around. And then, of course, you got Worlds Unite, which is the Sonic Archie which is the Sonic Mega Man crossover, which is the sequel to last year's Worlds Collide, or the previous few years' Worlds Collide story. Worlds Collide, which was back in 2013. Worlds Collide. So you have all these events. You have these three events. You have DC, Archie, and Marvel. Again, does anybody not find that kind of ironic that the original big three comic book companies are doing this? Now, some might say it's just coincidence. That it's all happening at once. And by sheer coincidence, it basically means it's just the timing is just there. It's just the same. It's just the timing is just a coincidence. It's just ironic that it's all happening. But when one thinks about it, it's not just the timing, folks. Hold on. I was just checking something, folks. But like I said, it's not just the timing that's ironic or coincidental. I think it's more along the lines that all three companies knew this was going to happen. Now, people might say that Marvel and DC are usually better at planning their special events than, let's say, IDW or Archie or Image. And that's true. But but Archie has proven that if they get a special event going, a special comic event going, that they can be just as good as well. And I apologize, that's an email that just came in. But like I said, that they could be just as good as well. So some might say it's kind of ironic that all three of them are doing this all at once. Some might say that Archie Comics decided to do the Worlds Unite sequel just to try to compete with what DC and Marvel were gonna do. That could be true and that could not be true. Again, some might say it's just a coincidence. But when some take a look at this, But when some take a look at the time frame for all these big crossover mega events, again, that's another email. Uh, um, all these altering, life-changing events in the comics, or just game-changing events. Again, some might say it's a coincidence, but others might say it's not a coincidence, and some would say it's the other company trying to prove that they could have just as good a crossover event as the other two. Some could say that Worlds Unite might be better than what we're going to get. That's another email. Might be better than what we're going to get from DC and Marvel. Some might say Marvel's Secret Wars is going to be better than what we're going to get from DC and Archie. And people might say that DC's event is going to be bigger and better than Marvel and Archie's combined. You know, people have their preference and their theories. So some might say it's a coincidence that this is all happening at once, while others might say it's more along the lines of all three are trying to outdo themselves. They're trying to outprove the other. They're trying to out-crossover the other. They're trying to out-event the other. But the question is, really, is it too much? I mean, you could have an avid comic book fan that loves to read all the comics, or all the most popular comics from all three. And this summer coming up could be a huge deal for them, because here they would have a crossover. Here they could try to pay attention to, but then they have it here, then they have it here. It would be a big deal for them, but it would be very kind of confusing because they wouldn't know which crossover event to want to read. You know, because just like, Worlds Unite, the crossover events in DC and Marvel are both separated by issues of different comic books. And true, Marvel and DC are a lot more confusing than what you would have with Archie. Archie pretty much just plainly put it out. They said, Universe, Sonic Universe, #1. Mega Man or Sonic Boom, #2. Mega Man, Sonic Boom, #3, and Sonic the Hedgehog, #4. And then Mega Man, #5, Universe Boom, #6, Universe 7, or Universe 6, Boom 7, Main Comic 8, or something like that. So basically, they kind of have it less confusing than what you would get with DC and Marvel, and that's why some people might prefer going towards the Worlds Unite direction, because it's less confusing. And I think there's the potential that they could give you a 16, maybe 12 issue subscription just for that one event. But then, on the other hand, people might prefer going through all the comics, getting all the issues they need to get for Secret Wars over at Marvel and whatever. I can't think of the name right now for the event at DC. Getting all those issues because they might find them more intriguing, more interesting, more plot driven. And that might be true. That might be true. But at the end of all it, is this going to be a summer of coincidence? But at the end of all it, is this a summer of pure coincidence when it comes to these crossover events? Or are these companies trying to outdo each other? And on top of that, should it come down to maybe one or two companies having one summer to do the event while the others just take care of regular business? See, that is the question I think a lot of people would have. Should one company be focused on the summer in their crossover event, and should the others kind of step aside and let that company have that summer while they just do their own things? like do regular issues, keeping continuity and stuff like that? Or should they try to keep competing? Because again, I find it kind of ironic. Now, I don't know if it was ironicness 2 summers ago when Worlds Collide happened, but didn't Marvel and DC have similar events or some kind of crossover events at the same time? Or did IDW or somebody? I can't really remember. But I do know this. Like I said, it is kind of coincidental and ironic that all 3 are doing it all at the same time. Now again, like I said, some might consider that coincidence and ironicness and just the timing and the scheduled timing was the same time. But then again, one has to think if there's more to it. If maybe all 3 of them knew if something was going to happen, or if one knew the other 2 were doing something and one wanted to join in, and this is what they did. Some might say Worlds Unite probably wasn't even going to happen. They heard, I guess, Sega or Capcom or Archie saw what was going to happen with Marvel and DC, and they just said, hey, let's have a crossover again. Let's do Mega Man and Sonic again. And that's what we're doing, and it's bigger and more, it's supposed to be bigger and more huger than Worlds Collide. Worlds Unite is going to be bigger and more huge. So, you know, that right there is the question though. Did the whole Worlds Unite thing come out and become a reality because of what's going on at Marvel or DC? Or was it just coincidence? And is it coincidence that DC's doing theirs, or did that come out because they saw what Archie and Marvel were doing, and then Marvel decided, hey, Secret Wars is going to come out because of what they probably saw Archie and DC do? And that's another email. But again, that is the question. Was it just coincidence? Was it just ironicness? Or was it just the fact that the timing was the same on the schedule, the timing on the scheduling for the release of these crossovers was just the same time frame? Or did one company or another see what was going on with the other companies and decide they wanted a piece of that? No one would really know. No one can really tell. But I can say this. If you're an avid comic book fan, if you're a comic book fan that reads from both DC, Archie, Marvel, and even the independents like IDW and so forth, as far as the original Big 3 goes, this is going to be a huge summer for you, because you're going to have multiple choices of what events you want to pay the most attention to. Well, on the other hand, if you're not an avid comic fan and you just read a specific comic book from a specific publisher, then it's not going to be so confusing. I mean, if you read mainly Marvel and you're a straight out Marvel fan, you're going to go with Secret Wars. If you're a straight out DC fan, you're going to go with what they're doing. And if you're a straight out Archie fan, you're going to go with Sonic and Mega Man. So, again, is it ironicness? Is it coincidental? Or is it maybe the fact that they just want to outcompete each other? Did one or 2 see what one was doing and decide they wanted a piece of that? Did one see what the other 2 were doing and wanted a piece of that? We'll never know maybe, but it's just to me that this is a summer of crossover coincidence. Don't you see it? Don't you see it that way? I do. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section, and I'll talk to y'all later.